Greetings and bienvenue, Midnight Crew. Thank you for returning to this broadcast. And welcome to new viewers joining us for the first time. If you like a video, then feel free to subscribe.
Some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
I have a few. Nothing too horrifying, but worthy enough for /X/ I suppose. The first one is about aliens, or at least UFOs. Be me, 16-ish or so. Parents are fairly recently divorced. Dad is living in a fairly small cabin out in the boonies. Not like middle of nowhere. There's an interstate fairly close and everything, but no major towns unless you drive about 30 minutes in any direction. Lots of fields and cows and woods and shit. Be spending the weekend with Dad. We're returning from the grocery store around 7 or 8 p.m. It's either spring or summer because it was warm enough to have the windows down. Going down a shitty back road that runs parallel to the interstate. You can't see it, but you can hear trucks rumbling by and shit. Making idle chit-chat, I get routinely shit for my shitty grades. I was a lazy, bored high school slacker. Just kind of ignoring the complaining, looking out the window into the sky. Always liked looking up at the night sky. See something flying by overhead. Flying low. I'm talking low enough to the point that I was kinda nervous, and Dad was too when he noticed it. He's not the kind to spook easily either and denounces paranormal stuff as bullshit. It was sort of oblong-shaped and wider around the middle, sort of like pick-related. Dad, what the hell is that? Definitely not a plane. Yeah, no shit. The thing isn't making any noise. We slow down almost to a stop as it flies over. There are blue lines crisscrossing all over the thing's underbelly, like some kind of weird-ass sci-fi spaceship. On the side, there's some kind of mechanism that looked like it was turning. It flashed from red to the same blue of the lines with each turn. Watch it until it's lost to view. Drive home talking excitedly about it. Never seen anything like it before or since. Dad still brings it up sometimes just to make sure we both didn't dream it or something. Next story, the time where I apparently got trolled by some cosplaying asshole at 3 in the morning. Be me, 20 or so. Driving home from band practice an hour away. We ended up getting together and playing World of Warcraft like a bunch of neats for like 6 hours after practice ended, so I'm driving home at like 2 or 3 a.m. Live in a fairly rural area, civilization isn't far, but not having a car means you can do fuck all. There's nowhere to safely walk or ride a bike on the roads out here. Not a soul on the roads because of ungodly hours. Don't mind at all. Roll down windows, blast music like a dick, enjoy the solitary drive. Around this time I was pretty interested in Slender Man. Yes, I know it's cringe and done to death, but the mythos is pretty cool when it's not being distorted by a bunch of RPing Redditors who insist he's stalking them and looking into their windows and shit. Probably 15 minutes from home at this point, a little after 3 a.m., come to a Y-shaped intersection with a shitty dim streetlight sitting directly in the middle of the fork, probably to illuminate the fact that you can't just keep going straight or you'll plow into some schmuck's yard. As I approach this turn, I realize there is a tall as shit dude in a suit standing under it. He's just out of the light, so I can't really see features or anything, but my tired paranoid brain convinced me he had no face. Oh god, it's the slender fucker.jpg. Floor it. Don't drop below 60 on shitty twisty back roads till I get home. As uncomfortably close to my house as that shit was, I am nervous getting out of my car to go in. Book it inside and watch anime like a neat to distract myself. Pretty freaky, I bet whoever was lurking to scare people had a good laugh at how I peeled out. At one point, I also saw a weird shape in the darkness on that same road and got pretty spooked until my headlights lit it and it was 2 bucks with their horns locked together. Too spooky. On to more unexplained shit. The time some friends and I stumbled upon what was apparently a murder pit. Be me, 18 or so and about to graduate high school. Have a best friend, another dude who always tagged along with us over. I didn't like the guy, but I was too nice to tell him off. We're at my mom's house. Again, and you'll notice a pattern here, we lived in a pretty rural area. Absolutely nothing for miles in every direction. There's a dead-end road that runs parallel to my house. I like to go for walks along it and play with the neighbors' dogs, hang around in the creek, whatever. There are lots of abandoned properties along that walk, trailers and shacks and barns and shit, also massive fields. One piece of property has a big-ass barn on it. We went out there to shoot each other with BB guns once and found a coyote inside. We have permission from the landowner to be on it because he doesn't care. We go out there that day, it's around 3 or 4 in the afternoon. Head back behind the barn and tromp through the woods, went further than we ever had before, making stupid high school jokes. You should cut your hair anon, you look like a human mop. Shut up, you look like a pear with legs, etc. Eventually the woods opens into a field and clearing type deal. Ahead of us and off to the left there's a circular patch that's obviously some kind of burn pit. We can see detritus and shit all around the rim. Buriedtreasure.org. Go over to the pit and start kicking shit around, looking for anything interesting. Mostly tin cans, bottles, etc. Boring shit. Boring until my best friend kicks up some kind of bone. Not too freaked at first. Bones of small animals are common around here. Keep rooting around. Unearth more bones. These are bigger, as in human-sized. This might be slightly creepy now. Pear-shaped starts gibbering like a lunatic. Friend and I told him to shut up and examine bones more closely. I am not medically learned, but my dad is, and from what I can tell, some of these look human. Friend decides we should take a picture and text it to him, see what he thinks. Genius. We do so. Get a text back a few minutes later. Those look human anon. We just found a Dumpsite.mp3. Look at each other and kind of laugh nervously. The pair is still babbling, but his inane drivel doesn't seem so inane anymore. Right then we hear some shit rustling around in the tree line to the left of the burn pit. Doesn't sound like an animal. Too big and the footfalls are heavy and plodding like a person. There is a goddamn murderer out here, and he has returned to the scene of the crime to admire the bones or whatever. We all freeze. Noises pick up again and we all bolt. The pair, one of the most cowardly and out-of-shape neats I have ever met, outstrips both of us seriously. He ran like he was a gazelle or some shit. We get back to my mom's house and debated what to do. Call Dad, and he suggests calling the cops. We do that, describe what happened and give them a rough location. Cop comes to the door a while later and talks to us, basically just has us reiterate what we said over the phone. Thanks us and says they'll be checking the area out. Never heard shit about it again. Glued myself to the news for the next few days, but there was nothing. Still wonder what was up with that and if we actually found some psycho's dumping ground or what. This one's not paranormal but still scared the shit out of me. Be me, 11 or 12. Be in Texas with Mom visiting family on Dad's side. Dad left a couple days earlier due to work. Spend a day with Mom and Aunt hanging around town doing touristy shit. Head back to where we're staying. My grandma's house. Around 10 at night or so. Can't remember why, but we needed to stop to use a payphone or maybe an ATM or something. Pull into the parking lot of this little marketplace. Totally deserted. Nobody around. Lit only by a couple shitty streetlights. Aunt gets out to use the phone, ATM, leaves the driver's side door open. About 2 minutes later, this dude staggers out of the darkness around the back of the store. Even as a kid, I could tell something was wrong with him. Looking back, the dude was tweaked out of his mind on some shit. He stumbles around to the open door, trying to get into the car. My mom freaks out. I freeze. My aunt starts screaming at the dude. Dude turns and makes a beeline for her. Aunt circles around the car, jumps in and peels out. Dude tries to stumble after the car. We take off. Aunt calls her boyfriend, who is the chief of police, and a shitload of cruisers get there in about 5 minutes. Turns out there was a trailer or something behind the store, and there was a massive drug-fueled party going on. Pretty sure a shit ton of people got arrested, including the attempted carjacker. I'm glad all the family moved up here because to hell with that damn place. Last one before I turn in. Be me like 3 years ago. Playing a show with a band the following day. Drunk. Girlfriend broke up with me recently and I've struggled with depression my whole life, so I'm feeling shitty and combative. Get on /x/ and make a thread, challenging anyone who can summon demons or whatever to send me horrible shit. Get a few replies, don't take any of them seriously. Pass out a while later. Forget about thread. The next day everything is going wrong. The car's tire is flat. The store I left my guitar with the night before for string changing. The intonation setting is randomly closed due to some kind of emergency, so I can't get my guitar back. Backup guitar has 3 strings break. Have to change the things like 3 hours before the show. Slip mic in pocket after practice. It's a zip-up pocket. The thing vanishes out of my pocket right before we're supposed to play. Never found it. We get booted from the 8 p.m. time slot to a 1 a.m. time slot on a Thursday night. Pretty much everyone who was going to come had to cancel because who the hell can be out that late on a Thursday? Turns out the time slot we were given doesn't even exist and we don't get to play at all. On the way back to the rhythm guitarist's house where we practice, I lost my wallet. I am fuming and start ranting about /x/let slip about the thread I made. Rhythm guitarist and his family are super into the occult and pagan shit. He gets really serious. Tells me to wait in the garage while he gets his brother-in-law out there. Brother-in-law comes out with sage and does some kind of purifying ritual on me. Tells me I should be fine but warns me not to mess with shit like that again. Most people wouldn't take it seriously, but I could tell the dude wasn't joking. I'm really close to the rhythm friend and his family now, and we still talk about that. I don't antagonize /x/wizards anymore. I lied, this will be the final one. It's short, and if I don't post it now, I'll probably forget like the scatterbrain that I am. Be me, around 17. Friend is over at my mom's house for the weekend. We decide we want to go explore this abandoned trailer on that dead-end road I mentioned earlier. Go during sunset, not pure daylight, but not dark because we're wusses. Get up to the trailer, both of us carrying sticks for protection against dogs and whatnot, try to look in windows, can't see shit. Front door won't open. Go around to the back. Back door won't open, but the window is partially broken. Figure since it's already broken, it's okay to just smash the rest of it out. Clear all the glass, and I volunteer to crawl through first. Get inside. Place is littered with old shit. Furniture, random bullshit like pictures, old books, etc. Big pile of dirty-ass rags and shit in the corner near the front door. Start kind of poking around. Tell my friend he's clear to come in. Hear a shuffling noise. Assume it's my friend. Realize the noise is coming from inside the trailer. Realize the pile of rags is stirring. Realize the pile of rags is a person standing up and muttering. Tactically shit self, tell friend to run. Forget that I came in through the window and slammed into the back door. Hit it hard enough to bust it open. I had a massive bruise on my shoulder for a solid week after we haul ass out of there. Expect some crack-addicted hobo to chase us down and diddle us, but nobody comes out. I went back like a year later with my best friend in the pair, and there was nobody in there. We took some souvenirs. Mine was this really cool picture of Pick related on like a mirror glass background. I polished it, and it's hanging on my wall as we speak. I'll post a pic if anyone's interested. Sorry for the garbage quality. My phone is an actual piece of shit. It was really dirty and grimy when I first got it, but I used some of the goo removal stuff and polished it, and now it's one of my favorite decorations. I love ships and stuff like that.
I'm not really in the mood for super spoops, so I'll just tell a hunting story. As background, I grew up poor. Like dirt poor. Like not filling a hunting tag meant government meat poor. As such, I spent a lot of time in the woods growing up and a lot of time hunting and fishing because, you know, food. Anyway, be me. 14 years old. Deer hunting with dad. Come across a solid 4x4 muley. Not too big, but good enough. It's probably 30 yards away, not giving a shit about us. Kind of odd because I drew third season, so a deer this close should take off at the first sign of humans, especially since it's not super young. Tee off and shoot. No dirt clouds, no signs of injury. The buck just looks at me, then goes back to munching grass like nothing happened. Tee off again. Fire. Hit it square in the neck. Could see the plain as day where the bullet hit. Deer drops like a rock. Hell yeah, food.jpg. Wait a few minutes to make sure it's dead, then walk closer. No blood. Deer suddenly starts and runs over the top of the hill. Try to track for a while. No blood trail at all. Go back to where I shot it. Mushroomed bullet on the ground in a tuft of fur. The most bizarre hunting experience I ever had. And before asking why the bullet just didn't penetrate. At 30 yards, with a factory 165 grain 308, with a box I got a deer later that season, no. This one happened in 2012. As an adult this time, food is less of a priority, but still the primary reason I hunt. Bow hunt now because it's more fun. If I fail, I'll just get an over-the-counter rifle tag later in the year. Or if I'm turkey hunting, I'll just bring a shotgun later in the season. No big deal. Tail end of turkey season, but drew a fall turkey tag this year, so not particularly worried. So bring my bow. Forecast was calling for rain, gonna hunt either way. I don't give a damn, but it's actually looking like a nice day, so me and a buddy get our shit and head up the mountain in my piece of shit 1990 GMC pickup. Find a good spot to park and head toward what we call the rim. The rim is literally a canyon rim. There's about 2 miles of space between the gravel road and the rim itself, but in between there's a bench that has a ravine below it, and the ravine leads to a glade. The glade is a pretty good turkey spot, and worst case scenario you push them to the rim. Sometimes they fly into or across the canyon, but usually you kind of trap them and they try to run, which makes for easy shots. This order will be important later, so don't hesitate to come back to it. Anyway, make our way up to the bench, about a mile from the road. Sit down and drink some coffee, have a snack, do a bit of calling to see if anything is out there. A few gobbles, but nothing wants to come in. Head into the ravine and make our way down towards the glade. Find a decent spot and some quakies, set up some decoys and start calling. A few hens come in, but no toms. Do this for a few hours, then head towards the rim. Nothing on the way there, whatever. Eat lunch, bullshit. Look out over the canyon. Rain clouds coming down from the next mountain range over, so decide to call it there and just come back in the evening. Start walking back through the oak scrub. Always takes longer to get back than to get there, but notice it's taking a lot longer than usual. Keep walking. Open area ahead. Gotta be the glade. Pinon surrounded by oak scrub. This was never here. Pull out GPS to make sure we weren't stupid. Refuses to get signal. Okay, say screw it and keep walking west since we'll eventually hit the road anyway. An hour passes. More oak scrub. Decent size clearing ahead. Gotta be the glade for sure this time, if not the road. It's the glade this time, mind at ease. Start heading up the ravine since I know where I am. Back into oak scrub. Feels like forever. Open area. It's the glade again. Did we get turned around? Didn't walk downhill at all, so that doesn't make sense. Starts raining, not happy. Keep going uphill. Finally make it to the bench. Follow the bench west. Glade again. Panic. Keep following the same path because no matter how lost I think I am, civilization is definitely west. Bench again. Follow the bench around. Finally hit the road where the truck is. It's evening now. You can say I got lost in the woods for a day if you want, but I've hunted that exact same spot for many years. I could lead you there with my eyes closed. I might tumble off the rim, but I could get you there. Here's a map of what the normal path should look like. Alright, dark time now, 2017. Out of college now, moving next spring, so I want one solid bow hunt before I leave the area for a while. Elk season, mid-September. Monsoon season is done, but torrential thunderstorm is a possibility. Head out extremely early in the morning with a buddy, get to spot about half an hour before first light. Hunting pro tip, this is on purpose. I like to get there super early because even though I can't take a shot, once stuff starts getting up, it starts making noise. That 30 to 45 minutes means they pretty much forget you're there. Plus, animals that call first rather than responding are more likely to respond and come into calls than if you call first. No luck in the first few hours, sit down for some lunch. Fucking around with calls while bullshitting and eating because why not? Suddenly satellite bull out of nowhere. Takes off, nothing we could do about it. Whatever, happens a lot more often than most would think. Move on to the other side of the mountain, because there's a good bench where you can glass a deep open creek valley plus the other mountain and see what's around. I have pulled many elk from this valley, but only during rifle season, so I was hoping to get one with a stick. Get onto the bench and pull out the binocs and take a look around. Notice there's no ambient noise besides us, but kind of shrug it off. Suddenly the shadow kind of blocks the view in front of me, telling Buddy to move. He's just silent. Stop screwing around. No response. Pull binoculars away from face and notice he's right beside me, kind of horrified. Turn around and see the sun is pretty dark, but no clouds and no eclipse. Stays that way for half an hour. Head back to the truck. The sun goes back to normal after we get there. I don't know what happened here. I couldn't explain it to you if I tried. Like I said, not a cloud in the sky, and there definitely wasn't an eclipse that day.
Now that I'm back on here, I'll try to remember any other weird shit that's happened to me. Here's one from when I got my first apartment with my best friend. B20, right after the road trip to collect trust fund. Best friend's dad died in a trucking accident when he was like 7 or 8. I still remember him crying in class about it. Family got a massive settlement. He's supposed to get paid out incrementally, but he's able to secure a big-ass chunk of cash. We decided to use our money to move into a 2-bedroom apartment. Said apartment is a shithole. We are happier than pigs in shit regardless, brew our own mead and generally act like burnouts. After I turned 21, we are drunk 24/7 watching shitty horror movies and playing Dark Souls. At one point I'm drunk as a skunk, too drunk to even turn on the bathroom light, so I just sink onto the toilet and sit in the darkness. Start noticing extremely faint, glowing handprints on the walls. They're kinda small but not like child-sized, just looks like a smallish adult's hand. I don't want to say they were glowing because that's not quite right, they weren't giving off any light or anything, but their color was like yellowish green. Vaguely wonder WTF is up but dismiss it as drunken brain. Go to sleep. Wake up next morning, remember weird prints. Go into the bathroom, turn off the light. Handprints still everywhere. Talk to my best friend about it. He sleeps on a cot in the closet of his room. We're both weird. We go into the closet and look around. Same handprints everywhere. Not really spooked, more intrigued. They're in most rooms in our unit. Sometimes they'll change places. Once I swear I even saw one fading in. Decided that we lived with ghosts who like to hand paint. Every so often would do a shot for them. Again, not paranormal, but scared the living shit out of me and traumatized me for several years afterward. Be 3rd grade or so. Aunt from Texas is visiting and offers to drive me to school. I love my aunt, I agree. We're shooting the shit. It's kind of drizzling. Not raining heavily, but enough to make the roads wet. About 10 minutes from my school aunt's car, hydroplanes and slams into an oncoming car. Combined miles per hour was probably around 80 or so. All the impact lands on my aunt's side. Front left of the car is crunched into an accordion. Don't remember much, just my aunt screaming right before we hit. A lot of smoke from the airbags, and feeling like I was going to be sick. Aunt reaches over and unbuckles my seatbelt, tells me to get out. I open the door and roll out of the car, kneel there on the ground, too shocked to move. Friend's mom saw the whole thing and took care of me while she called my parents. Crossing guard from the school shows up with cops. Crash was clearly audible to him even a few miles away. Aunt's leg has literally exploded. It's dangling from bits of sinew and flesh. I can hear her screaming bloody murder as paramedics remove her from the car. The other driver had a concussion. She was in a Buick, so her car didn't really give a damn. I go to hospital with my parents, get checked for internal injuries. Escaped with only a twisted ankle and some bruises from where the airbag hit me. Most cars back then didn't have a passenger side airbag. I heard the cops and the doctors talking about how that thing most likely saved my life. I was scared shitless of the road and of driving in general for several years after that. My aunt still has metal rods in her leg. Most people take cars for granted without realizing how dangerous they are. Drive safe, anons, you can die on the road in seconds. And now something that started spooky and ended hilariously, told from my dad's perspective. Be dad. A few years before I'm born. Dad has just gotten home from work, he's tired. Mom already asleep. Dad eats leftovers and goes to bed. Is awakened in the wee hours by my mom's panicked voice. She says there's something trying to break in. Dad, being a Coast Guard and Army vet who grew up fighting daily to survive in the Texas projects, is awake immediately. Awake and ready to mess someone up. Gets out of bed, grabs a bat from the corner, can hear the sliding glass door in the living room rattling. Sounds like someone's messing with the lock or tugging on it. Dad tells Mom to stay in the bedroom and goes out into the living room with a bat. There's a curtain over the sliding door. Dad can see some kind of shadow behind it. You broke into the wrong house. Readies bat, tears back the curtain expecting to see a nice skull ready for cracking. There's a raccoon hanging from the roof trying to open the door upside down. Dad freezes. Raccoon freezes. Mouth drops open like a human's as if it's in total shock. Screeches. Falls off roof. Tears ass into woods. Dad is partially amused and partially annoyed that he got dragged out of bed and into fight mode at 3 a.m. by a mammalian trash thief. Another one from Dad's perspective. Dad, watching TV late at night with Mom. Some sci-fi show. Dad notices something weird in the bottom corner of the TV. Says it looks like a face trying to push through a sheet or something. Could be a bleed over from another channel, but it unnerves him. He doesn't say shit because he's the rational one and doesn't want to freak my mom out or have her make fun of him. They go to bed later. Mom brings up seeing something weird on TV earlier. Dad WTF asks what it was. It looked like there was a face or something in the corner, I don't know. Dad says he saw it too. Asks her to describe it. She describes it the same way. They are both weirded out. Like I said, it could have been a bleed over from one of the other channels, but they were both pretty adamant that it didn't look like that. Haunted TV demons? You decide. Next one is from Mom about a UFO she saw in the 70s that I'm pretty sure has been revealed as a government craft since then. More spoopy UFOs. Be my mom sometime in the 70s. This is before her and Dad got together. She's still living in Maryland at this point. Driving home from work one night on shitty backcountry Maryland roads. Sees something hovering in front of the third story of a big-ass farmhouse. It's some weird black triangle with a bright light on the front. Mom WTFs hard, stops the car and rolls down the window. Thing is just hovering, making no noise, right in front of this farmhouse. Mom says if the people had looked out the window on the third floor room, they'd have been face to face with this thing. After a bit, it seems to notice her watching and moves up higher, still silent. Starts moving away. She follows in her car. Thing keeps going for a while before changing direction and cutting across a field where she can't follow. She stops again and watches it until she can't see it anymore. Says it never made a sound. Dad saw the same type of UFO separately, again before they even met. He said they were really excited that they saw the same thing, and when I showed them a Google search of the TR3 Black Manta, they said that's exactly what they saw. I know the thing isn't confirmed to exist, but a top-secret government craft being the culprit wouldn't shock me. No clue why a test flight would have the thing spying on a farmhouse. Maybe they were suspected communists or something. Remembered another one. Been racking my brains all day trying not to miss anything. Be me, 21 or so, camping with family in State Park. Bring best friend along, the one from the apartment with the painting ghosts. What family calls camping isn't actually camping. We bring TVs, my PS3, hang up Christmas lights around the campsite, tablecloths, silverware, rugs, AC, etc. Anyway, spend day with friend and watching movies, playing games on my laptop and shit. Also some Guitar Hero. Eventually it gets late. Friend and I retire to the tent to watch some shitty anime and sleep. I leave the phone on the charging stump outside, one of those wooden poles with outlets that a lot of campsites have. We sleep. Next morning, get up and have breakfast. Pull the phone off the charger. Morning sunlight is hitting the woods in a cool way, so I take a shitty phone picture. Capture precisely none of nature's majesty. Shittyflipphone.net. Go into the gallery to look at the picture. Notice a shitload of pictures from the night before that I don't remember taking. What? They're pictures of our tent. Each one is progressively closer. On the last one, the phone is literally pressed against the canvas. Show best friend. Ask if he did it to mess with me, he denies. I don't have those pictures anymore because I lost that phone a few months later, and this was before I wised up and started backing my shit up. There were family friends there too, and one of them had a little girl who was the epitome of an attention-seeking brat. I could easily see her doing something like that and then hoping we'd bring it up so she could make up some dramatic story about it. Never figured out who took the pictures, but it wasn't so much creepy as it was intriguing, because if some predatorial freak had entered our campsite with bad intentions, they'd have been flayed alive from multiple sides. Back with another one. Not paranormal, but spooked me good. Be 17-ish. Out in the middle of nowhere turkey hunting with Dad. Stepbro and family friend who's super into hunting. Said family friend was a patient of Dad's, they became friends and he always invites us out to hunt with him. For those who don't know, you get up ungodly early to hunt turkeys, because if the cunts know you're around, they'll make themselves scarce. We had gone into the hunting area the evening before and set up a blind. Freezing cold and dark. I'm not a morning person, so I'm shit tired. Also have to piss. Tell the group to keep going as I head off in another direction to piss. No real fear of getting lost. It's not like Wyoming death trap wilderness or anything. Do my best. Turn and start heading towards blind. See movement roughly to my left. Stop. Wondering if I've spooked some animal or maybe a turkey that I can get before the hunt even starts. See very slight shifting again. It's a shadowy human-shaped figure, roughly as tall as I am and pressed against a tree. Almost shit self. Contemplate raising a gun. Instead, turn on the light affixed to cap. Hit something that is clearly camo clothing. There's a hunter pressed up against a tree in full camo with his gun to his chest. Dude even has his face blacked out. Can only see his eyes. He motions for me to be quiet. I try to motion an apology for almost shooting him like a paranoid. Make my way to blind. Tell no one that I almost committed manslaughter because I lurk/X/too much. We bag no turkeys, fuck everything. I don't hunt much and I had no idea some people would just sit motionless for hours against a tree and wait for something to come along. That's dedication I will never have to that particular activity.
Be about 9 or 10. Hanging out with friend, not best friend, this was before we started hanging out. At his house, friend's family owns a load of land, miles of nature with lakes, ponds, caves and shit. I love animals, especially reptiles and amphibians, so this is a haven for me. One day we go out and decide to poke around any caves we find. We take slingshots, not those shitty wooden ones, but the metal ones that have an arm brace. Instead of rocks, we shoot those tiny clamshells because when they hit, they explode into shrapnel. Call them shatters, because stupid kids. About an hour into exploration, we find a cave. It's more like a crevice between two big-ass rock formations. Too dark to see inside. No flashlights because we're dumbasses. We probably shouldn't go in, friend says. Thank you, Captain Obvious. He decides to shoot a shatter into the cave to see how far back it goes. Okay, why not? Shoots into spoopy crevasse. Hear the thing explode almost immediately, not very deep. Suddenly a storm of huge ass-white cave crickets comes pouring out of this cave, screeching like Satan. I'm probably remembering the loudness of the screeching wrong because I was a kid, but it scared the shit out of me. I'm not sure if they were albino or just bleached white from no sunlight. Probably the latter, because how the hell would an entire colony of these things be albino? They're big as shit. Some of them are the size of $50, and they are pissed at being disturbed. One jumps onto friend. He freaks out and smashes it. I doubt these things could have bitten us if they'd tried, but we were kids and we saw nothing but death. Booked it out of there back to his house. Had lunch and talked about how we narrowly escaped murder at the hands of insects. We did a lot of stupid shit on that property. I'm amazed neither of us ever suffered a rattlesnake bite or something.
This shit happened to me. Go with Dad on a trip to a city to watch some motorbike races. Dad brings a friend with his son. Stay in a hotel. I would usually use my dad's phone. Night comes, tomorrow we will leave. Leave Dad's phone on the table. Go to sleep. The four of us sleep in the same room. Wake up the next morning, grab my dad's phone as usual, go to the gallery. Picture of all of us sleeping. Pic was taken at least 9 feet away from the beds. Couldn't be the little kid because you can clearly see him sleeping. Be really young. My mind doesn't think about it. Fast forward, already going home. Casually tell my dad about the pic. Grabs phone, sees it, sees me with a weird face, looking worried and scared, deletes the pic and tells me to forget about it. Fast forward 10 years, randomly remember it. My face when...
I hope that you enjoyed tonight's broadcast. If you enjoyed tonight's story, then please subscribe to the channel as more Greentext will appear daily. A new broadcast will appear when the clock strikes midnight Central Time.
Remember to check the Odyssey and Rumble pages for separate archives of previous broadcasts.